or they be where they want to now.
Sorry, I just started. If it's okay, I want to record this so we can like use it as content. If that's
Oh, you can
okay.
record the whole thing. Hold
Okay.
on. Because if that's the case, I'm going to turn my screen all the way on and I'm going to turn my loom on and start recording.
Yeah. Well, you started talking and it was great. It's good content to use for staying active over 50. So, do you want to
Oh, yeah.
restart your story and we can go from there?
I forgot what I went on a rant about.
You said when your dad died, yeah.
Oh, so when my dad died, so many people in life will tell you that you're doing okay and that everything you're doing it the right way, but those are your friends and they care about you and they love you and they want you to be happy. But and that's why they'll tell you, oh, don't worry about it, you look great, you don't have to go to the lose 20 pounds. Or your husband or your wife will tell you, you look amazing, I love you just the way you are. Well, if you don't feel comfortable looking in the mirror, you don't feel comfortable in your own skin, just because someone else is telling you that to make you feel better, you still kind of feel like crap inside every time you walk past a mirror and you catch your reflection. Every time you get out of the shower and you have to dry off and there's more body there to have there. So what I do is I make sure that I talk to people, and yeah, I'll have that tough conversation with them because so many people in their life just let them off the hook. And if you have someone telling you it's okay, don't worry about it, when are you ever going to make a change? When are you ever going to commit to yourself to actually become the man or the woman that you want to be if everyone else is telling you don't worry about it? And then it's just about making sure that they can see the they see who they want to be when they look in the mirror, and then I help them get there, because life's not easy and we all have distractions. And so many people, their friends are meaning well, but it's preventing them from taking their life to the next level. And I've been a personal trainer and a health coach for 24 years. And a lot of times, some of the things that I see is when your friends tell you that, you know what, it's great, you're fine the way you are, they're doing it for selfish reasons. Because if you start making changes, you're not going to be the drinking buddy. You're not going to be going out and doing all the sitting on the couch watching football for 12 hours on Sunday like you used to. You're going to do different things. You're going to start eating healthier foods. You're going to start doing more exercising. Maybe you only hang out for 4 hours versus 12, and they're going to be afraid that they're going to lose you. So they tell you that for their own selfish ways of not to lose that friendship. And then also, in the back of their mind, this is the subconscious thing that most people don't realize. They're telling you that because if you change your life and if you get in better shape, what does that mean for them? They have to look at you, who is one of your close friends, and they've changed their physique, they changed everything about their life, and it makes them look at themselves and say, I'm not living my life the way I should. I could do more. He's doing more, she's doing more, but I don't want to. So instead of being encouraging and being like, you're being a good friend, telling you go for it, I'll even do it with you, they kind of sabotage you, and not intentionally, but it's because they just don't want to have to be forced with the realization that they're not living up to their potential.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I never thought of it that way when someone says like, "Oh, you're fine, you're good," like the way you are. Yeah, that's not helpful for change and getting out of your comfort zone and what's hard. It's not always easy.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
not saying everyone's like that, but some people, change is difficult. And the only constant thing in the world is change. And how many people are resistant to change? So if we want to, and you're not staying the same, life is always moving forward. So if you're not changing, you're actually falling behind. So when you don't change who you are and your friends are telling you you're good just the way you are, that's the past version of you. What's the future version of you going to look like? What's the future version of you going to feel like? And life is short. Nobody thinks anything's ever going to happen to him. And my dad died at 56 years old from a stroke because he was burning the candle on both ends. Because he thought he was too busy. Had a government job and he worked for the FAA. and he worked out at Dulles Airport and the Leesburg Airport. And then he also had a photography business. He was an entrepreneur. And he always said that he was too busy, that he was going to start eating healthy tomorrow, start working out on Monday. And we all know that tomorrow is the magical, mythical place where nothing ever happens. So he never actually got started. And the doctors told him he needed to lose 20, 30 pounds to get off his high blood pressure medication. And he never got off of it. He never lost the weight. My stepmother, my stepmother found him unconscious on the bathroom floor. And we have no idea how long he was there, but he was rushed to the emergency room. And this is how I try to explain this to people. Now, if I took this pen and I started hitting my wrist over and over and over and over again, eventually what's going to happen? It's going to start hurting, and then it's going to bruise. And then I might have some nerve damage if I keep doing it long enough for months and years, and then eventually be bone damage. And potentially I could have to amputate my hand simply because I haven't made changed the underlying issue. But if the doctor gives me a Percocet to take the pain away, I'm not going to feel this. And the longer I continue to do this, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. So the reason why my dad never made a change because of his high blood pressure was because of the medication that he was on. Every time he went to the doctor's office, he was in the healthy range, but the underlying issue was still there. His diet was trash. He didn't work out. His diet was Pizza Hut, Popeyes, Little Debbie snack cakes, and he drank Pepsi all the time. He used to be an athlete. He played college football. He was a Special Forces Army Ranger. And then he sat at a desk for 30 years. And that led to him having that stroke. And the stroke was in his brainstem. And that's where all of your involuntary bodily functions are regulated: your circulatory system, your respiratory system, your muscular system, among many other things that you're not even thinking about. The parts of your body that have to function on a normal everyday basis that you don't think about is all controlled in your brainstem. So when we got to the emergency room, when we finally he got to the emergency room, he was rushed to ICU. And when we got there to see him, he had a ventilator tube stuck in his mouth and he couldn't speak. This is my dad, who was my best friend. He was the strongest guy I ever knew. I saw tears in his eyes for the second time in my entire life. And he knew it was the end. We could see how scared he was. Somehow, even though he lost control of his motor skills and he was shaking, somehow he was able to grab a pen and scribble a do not resuscitate order on a napkin because he didn't want to live the rest of his life not being able to breathe on his own and being attached to a machine. The doctors, hindsight's always 2020. The doctors tried to tell us that they were hopeful he'd have a full recovery, that they were hopeful that he would get better, and it looked promising. That was just bedside care, bedside manner, as they call it.
Mhm.
Because 3 days later, my phone rang, and it was my sister. Nothing good ever happens when the phone rings at 3:30 in the morning,
Mhm.
and it was her calling me to tell me that our dad had a second catastrophic stroke and he passed away, and he was only 56 years old.
I'm so
So
sorry.
that completely destroyed my family. It tore us apart. So everything that I do today is all based on trying to keep together and making sure that dads and moms make it home kids, making sure that those kids are able to grow up with both parents there. And so as their kids grow up, they can watch their kids grow and they can make memories with them. And then eventually end up being grandparents and having a long, healthy life to take care of their family and watch them, as opposed to dying early and leaving their family to pick up all the shattered pieces that they left behind.
Wow. It's quite a story, and thank you for sharing. I'm so sorry about your dad. It's a good wake up call for all of us. And I know I want to involve Tess because I'm not over 50, but Tess is just a wonderful example of what it means to be healthy and fit and over 50. So I'll let you take it away. I know you have a story too, Tess, in your own family in your life.
So our family is we've got 4 kids. We've got 6 grandchildren with one more on the way, due in December. So for us, we have kids who have always played sports. My husband played semi-pro soccer. He was also in special operations in the Navy. I am the sports mom, the crazy sports mom that does all the things or did all the things. Now I'm a Gigi that, kind of supports the sports aspect of it. But, by and large, we're a very active family. We have our youngest son is in college for his senior year as a wrestler. So we are still active sports parents. But more importantly, we've changed, my husband and I have changed our lifestyle, and we are whole food plant-based. So for us, it took my husband having a heart attack to make that change. He was the one that initiated after doing research and said, this is what I'm doing. You're more than happy to go along with it or not. So it's much easier when you have a partner to do things together, to hold each other accountable. And for us, it's changed because, when you get out of a catastrophic health crisis and you're released, you are also released with, I can't even tell you, probably a dozen or more medications that go home with you, prescriptions. So, changing to a whole food plant-based lifestyle not only made us more attentive of what we were eating and what we were putting in our bodies, but also how food is processed and how it affects a lot of people. I mean, even when we have processed, quote unquote, plant-based products from the grocery store, we can feel it when we can feel our bodies when we're almost immediately. We swell if we're having processed foods. So for us, most of our foods are now, whole food plant-based and cooked from scratch. I've always gardened, so at least, we've always had that to me, that's just one of my hobbies. And both my husband and I love to cook. So the change, I think, not just health wise and not just cutting the medications. I think he's down to 4 from a few years back when he was released and had over a dozen. And the 4 that he has is gradually, the dosage are going lower. So we do see that benefit. But I think that part of the problem society wise is that we're not, in the United States, that we are more, you don't make money unless you're getting sick, and you don't make money unless you're dispensing medication. So as much as the people like us that want to remain active, want to be strong, want to, create a community to do that, it's still difficult because on the majority of the healthcare system is not really healthcare, in my opinion. It's more non-health driven, I guess is how I would see it. I just, one of the things that we do is we watch a lot of documentaries as well. And because some of those documentaries, unless they are not brought to people's attention, that's the information that a lot of times we don't hear about it in the general public. And with me being in marketing, they definitely, marketing can be pushed, or slighted any way you want to present a product or a service. So even culturally, and my parents are from the Philippines, even culturally it's different. We have watched, or at least my parents have watched, and I have seen from just visits to different places, is that we have seen that the westernized way of eating and lack of exercise that has been spread in different parts of the globe has affected their health. So the things that for us it's convenience here in the United States, it's also been such a detriment to our health in general, and it's showing, our influence, our Western influence in other countries, are showing the same thing, where they were not having disease or not having obesity, they now are, and those rates are going high. And so for me, it's about education. It's about sharing just some basic information, things that we've known about, but because of the financial gains of being a sick and unhealthy country, there's more money in that than there is in preventative care. I think that that's what hurts us the most here. So for me, I think bringing that change and seeing the difference, even if it's starting small within your own circle of friends. I mean, people are asking questions now with us, and I think that that's where it starts. It has to start with the conversation. It has not just the practice, but as people see that, some people just accept that they're going to be sick, and why should you, when you can try to make those changes, and whether they're small or big, as long as they're consistent, those little changes can be enough for you to be off meds or never get on meds in the first place. So that's kind of our story as far as making those changes and trying to embrace those changes. And yeah, I mean, like my husband will tell you in a conversation, he gets ticked when he thinks about it, and he thinks about the studies that the government has had. But you've got lobbyists where you make a lot of money, and those studies or that information is not which should be the education that we don't get, because they're like, oh, well, that would be good if we let people know that if they eat these things or do these things, that they can get sick. So it's sad for me. For me, it's sad. It's something that, I feel strongly about. What can I do to either help educate my friends or my family to change? And it's hard because we were all raised with, hey, this is the food pyramid, and hey, mom and dad are both working, so it's easier to pop something that's already made in the microwave, not realizing all the salt and all the additives and all the processed things that, and the lack of nutrients there are in a lot of the processed foods. So and again, in marketing, for me, the new in thing, before it used to be organic, let's put everything and say that everything's organic, and then after that it was like, let's say that everything's gluten-free. Well, you know what, gluten-free used to be something that we worried about people who had an allergy for gluten. Like I've had coaches or assistant coaches of mine who had celiac disease, so that gluten, so, but just marking something that's gluten-free, or now they're using plant-based, and it's hard because I know that some of the stuff that is plant-based, that is processed, is not necessarily still good for you. You still got to watch to see how much sodium they're putting in, what kind of gums and additives they're putting in. So, it's kind of hard for that educational part.
So this topic today is staying active over 50. Thank you, Tess, for sharing that story. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that popped into my mind with both of your stories, and I'm not over 50, I'm 36, but I do race with a lot of older triathletes who are so much faster than me, right? Like they are phenomenal. Like they're winning their age groups. And I aspire to be like them when I'm over 50. But then on the other end, I talk about my races and things I do, Ironmans, and those who are older than me will say, oh, I'm too old for that. Oh, I can't, excuses or whatever reason they have. And then I tell them about these amazing women and men that I race with that, like, the Iron Nun is like 85 and she still races Ironmans. Like, if you want to, you can. And so my question for both of you is like, how do you get past that stigma or those excuses? Kind of Cliff talked about this a little bit, like they just say that I'm older than 50 and that's my past and that's not something that I'm able to do anymore. I'm just old. And they accept this part of them, and then it leads to, disease and de-escalation, like, of their health. Doesn't have to be like that, but I'm 36, so I can't sit here and tell them like, oh, it doesn't have to be like that, right? Like, you can keep going. Will be moving at past 50 as well. So how do you, like, I don't know, Cliff, you want to respond to that when people say like, oh, I'm just old. That's just like,
Well, I tell people that I'm 45, and then they look at me and say, I never would have thought you were 45. I was like, then you just answered your own question. Because I don't look like I'm 45 is because I take care of myself, because I eat healthy, because I work out. And, it's never too late to start. You're still alive. And people tell me all the time, well, I'm either too old or I don't have time. And if you're people that say that they're too old, it's an excuse. They have bought into their own stories about how they can't do something. And it's not so much that they can't do it, it's the fact that they just don't want to do it. They're stuck in their ways. So it's all about giving them bite-sized pieces. Well, no one said you have to go to the gym and look like me. All you have to do, let's start by getting up and going walking. That's the first thing you can do. Everybody can walk. You eat every single day. Don't tell me that you don't have time to eat because you're already doing it. If you're overweight, you're already on a meal plan. It's just the wrong meal plan. So we have to adjust what you're eating. And you have to get them to understand that you're going to do these things any time, all day long anyways. If you're more intentional about it, then you're going to be able to make some changes. Now, most people don't do anything they only do something for different reasons. Most people won't do it for themselves. They will do, if they get motivated, it's for one of two reasons. It's for pleasure, moving towards a goal, or it's from pain to get away from a goal, get away from a problem that they're in. So the likelihood of most people waking up one day, oh, I'm going to make a change, it's very slim to none with their health because they're comfortable, they're complacent, they're addicted to all the processed foods that Tess was talking about, and what we do as healthcare, what I call the medical system is sick care. And the reason why is, like you were saying, the convenience. I call it a microwave society that we live in. We want everything here and we want it now because it's available. And you were talking about how the world is getting sick. If you take the global expansion of McDonald's and superimpose it over the global obesity trends, you will see that it's almost identical. So where we took our Western diet, like you said, and they're internationally so we can make more money, which, don't get me started, because it's done intentionally. If you look at the United States 50 years ago, not everyone didn't look like this. And they do it because there is more money in the medicine. There's no money in the cure. I truly believe, call me a conspiracy theorist if you want, that all of the big major diseases have cures that have been patented and locked away so they can sell you the medication in order to make you a residual income stream. But getting people started, that's all about just having them do it slowly. Most people, and this is how I sit down and I talk with people. Okay, you need to lose 50 pounds. I don't know how to do it. I'm too old. All right, so you've heard the old saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? Well, how do you lose 50 pounds? You lose it 1 pound at a time. And most people will look at that 50 pounds and say, I don't know what to do. I'm so overwhelmed, get anxiety, sit on the couch, eat ice cream, and watch TV, Netflix. And then while they're sitting there, or they look in the mirror, they'll start beating themselves up. Oh, I never used to be like this. What happened to me? So now they're depressed, anxious because they're trying to live in the future, depressed because now they're thinking about the past. So I tell all my clients, all we need to do is focus on winning today. Just win today. We put them on a program and we tell them, just check the boxes, just do what we tell you to do. Your food, you can eat the foods you want. You don't have to have a strict broccoli and chicken breast and brown rice diet. No, thank you. because that's boring and people will quit. It's not sustainable long term. So we teach them that they can do what they want, but we put these little things in place each day. And what happens? You start doing the little things. You start drinking more water. You start walking, and then you want to go into exercise, and you do little bit by little bit, changing your diet. And what happens is you show up for yourself every single day. And when you start showing up for yourself, two things happen. Number one, you're keeping your commitments to yourself. So you're stacking wins on top of wins on top of wins every single day. And that is the way that you build confidence, not by looking in the mirror and saying affirmations about, oh, I'm great, I can do this, I'm positive. That helps, but it's not what builds the confidence. It's you building trust in yourself, keeping your commitments every single day. The second part of that is when you win today, a small step taken daily compounds into a long distance traveled over time. So you win today, you win tomorrow, you win a week, you win a month, you win a year, and then the 50 pounds disappears because you're not caught up in what am I supposed to do? How do I do this? You focus on today, do the necessary actions. And if you stay consistent and you string wins together, you build your confidence, you take small steps towards your end goal, and then you reach it. And most people they want that instant gratification, forgetting that it took 5, 10, 15 years to put all the weight on. And when they want to lose it in 30 days or 6 months, they think they can drop 50 pounds. So now we've got weight loss drugs that are essentially you're starving yourself because you take a shot and it makes you not want to eat. You go under surgery and have gastric bypass, which a lot of people do not wake up from that. If you since this is an older crowd, a lot of older people have issues with hips, and I've helped older people lose weight so they could get to the body weight that they needed to in order to have a hip replacement. But they were unable to have the hip replacement because it's dangerous for you to take that much anesthesia if you have a significant amount of body fat, because the anesthesia stays in your body fat and they have a greater chance of not waking up from it. So if they do the weight loss surgery, your body fat is much higher than the regular surgeries that they allow. So what do you have to do? You sign away the rights to your life. You sign away your family's rights to go after the doctor or the hospital if you die on the table, because it's an elective surgery. It should be a last resort. If you really want to lose the weight that bad, try doing the diet that they make you do after you have your stomach cut in half, and you won't ever need to get on the table. But you won't do it unless you're at that position where you're forced to do it. So people, I'm sorry, I get a little excited. People, they won't make a change unless something bad happens to them or something bad happens to somebody that they know. So that is what usually happens. Like me, I took my dad's death, and it was a catalyst that I built the foundation of my business on, so no other families have to go through the pain and suffering that my family went through. So, and then other people, I have a friend of mine, 5 friends, 6 now, who wanted to lose weight, who wanted to get in shape. They were under 50. A couple of them were close to 50, but they never changed their party ways. And now that a bunch of people have retired over the age of 50, they start partying even more. And it's worse because you can afford to eat out. You can afford to go on vacations. So what do? You live it up. So you're eating whatever you want, expensive meals, you're going on vacations, you're drinking expensive bourbons and cognacs or whatever it is that they're drinking, and it's bad for your body and it causes you to age rapidly. So it's all about taking things in moderation is how you get people started. You can't take someone who's been sitting on the couch watching football, drinking beer, eating pizza, and then bring them all the way over here and tell them they can't have any of the foods that they like. You have to meet them in the middle. And
Yep.
as you're meeting them in the middle, you can have some of the things that you like, but you also have to have a balance of the things that you really are good for you, especially as you get older. So the 80-20 rule is really good, that you can eat healthy 80% of the time, and then that 20% of the time, enjoy your retirement, enjoy your vacations, go out and have fun, but you have to come back to balance in order to make it to your elder years, because you don't want to end up living your life so much to the fullest that at the end of your life you check out early or you become a burden to your family because you didn't take care of yourself, and now they have to take care of you. And I tell all of my clients, don't spend the first half of your life in hustle and grind mode, amassing your wealth, only to spend the second half of your life trying to wasting all of your money trying to buy back all of your health. It doesn't work that way. Look at Steve Jobs. The man had more money than he would ever spend, and he couldn't pay for the cure for cancer. So it's not you're not going to buy the cure if something bad happens to you, unfortunately.
He's got some great quotes. I don't know if I saw it from you, might have been or not, but of him at his bedside, like knowing that he was going to pass away. And he talks about how all the money, exactly what you just said, Cliff, in the world couldn't buy him his health. And that's the most important thing of all. So if you could, focus on 5 like tips, like baby steps tips for somebody who is stuck in the Popeyes, Pepsi, Netflix couch cycle, what would be 5 things that you would tell them like initially to get started?
Number one, the biggest thing is it all starts and stops up here. It's your mindset. Losing weight and getting fit is just as much, if not more, of a mental battle than it is a physical one. Because your old bad habits, your reoccurring patterns, and your low standards are what's keeping you overweight. And, unless you have a note from a doctor that you have been diagnosed that obesity is something that runs in your family, it's really not. It's the patterns and habits you pass on to your kids that they pass on to their kids, to your grandkids, to great grandkids. So it's all about your daily habits, and it all starts and stops up here. If you think you can, if you think you can't, you're right both ways. The second tip I would say is you got to get your body in a healthy position, and this means that you need to start drinking more water, eating healthier, the 80-20 rule, start going for walks. Eventually, when your body feels up to it, start lifting weights. The third thing is you need to build the relationship you have with yourself. Do you like yourself? Do you care about yourself? Do you love yourself? Do you trust yourself? And if you say yes to any of those questions, when you look in the mirror, is the reflection looking back at you? Is that reflection showing the love that you say you have for yourself? So it's about taking care of your body is really the only home you ever truly have. So you have 2 choices as you get older. How many times have you moved in your lifetime? Multiple places, probably lived in multiple homes, but you're only going to live in one body. So as you get older, you can do 2 things. One, you can renovate your body by eating healthy and working out, or 2, you can let it break down and turn into an old haunted house that squeaks when you walk. So you don't want to have that. The fourth thing I would say would be more present. Don't sedate yourself with eating all the foods that you want, eating your emotions, or drinking alcohol, or doing drugs, or anything along those lines that'll make you feel better. And the fifth thing is be consistent. If it took you a long time to get out of good shape and into the shape you're currently in, that when you look in the mirror and you tell yourself, I know I need to make a change, if you are looking at that physique, that is your lifetime of knowledge in health and fitness staring right back at you. That is what you know at the moment. So this is your starting point. You're not going to get to where you want to go without learning and applying yourself. So it's going to take some time. And yes, it's going to be frustrating because you're going to feel like it's not working, but it is working. It's going to be working, but it's going to take more time for your body to catch up to the decision that your mind made. So those would be the 5 things that I would tell people.
Thank you, Cliff. It's super helpful. Do you have anything to add to that, Tess? As an active?
So for me, yeah, for activity, I think with some of my friends, they're like, well, why do you do certain things that you do? And I say, I think as you age, there may be some things that you lose interest, right? You might just find a different activity to replace the activities you might have done while you're younger. Or that might be where your circle of friends or community, maybe they're doing something, something else, and that looks like it's a good activity. You want to try it. So, but for me, the benefits of it have to also be practical. So for me, I like to do yoga, and most of that is to continue having good balance, physical balance, mental balance as well, but physical balance, because as we age, and I'm going to be 56, so as we age, our balance changes because our bodies change and our bones change and our muscles change. Keeping those muscles strong with weights, and I tell people they don't have to be that heavy. What you want to do is you want to have good, strong, healthy muscles. They don't, I'm not there to bench press, 3 times my weight or whatever, but to have those strong muscles so that they can stabilize your bones. And I tell them, even my friends, they laugh at me when I say this, but when you're talking about doing squats, and I say, they're like, I do squats with and without weights. I'm like, but you have to think about, as you get older, when you strengthen your legs just by doing squats and keeping those muscles stable and that's going to help you when you're older, even just getting off of the commode to use a bathroom. And that's, my mom owns a home health and an adult residential care home. So she works with, and she's 80, or will be 80. So my mom's philosophy and my grandmother's philosophy, my grandmother lived until she was 97. Their philosophy was, you sit, you rot, right? So that's kind of what we've been talking about. When you sit and you're stagnant, your mind, your body, there's not being used. So for me, all these like practical things of being active is, as I get older, my bones, my muscles, my physique will still be able to help. I mean, hopefully that, that the practice of all of this helps me not to have as many falls potentially, because I've been practicing balance. That I won't necessarily need assistance with daily occupational therapy things like using the bathroom and taking care of myself and putting clothes on, because I'm trying to build that and continue building that in my daily practice. So being active is not just about necessarily keeping weight off, although that is important. It is about, as you age and your body changes, and keeping your mind still moving and thinking, and making sure that you're able to physically do things where you may not necessarily need that additional home health care, or again, like you were saying, Cliff, being a burden on your family. So for me, it's a lot of it is practicality as I age. I want to age gracefully, but I also want to make sure that what I'm doing is I'm putting things in place so that my body continues to stay strong.
Okay.
Medical equipment is expensive. One of my girlfriends just bought a lift chair for her mom. Her mom's not very heavy, but her mom's weak. I mean, her mom literally she's probably 115 pounds, but she's weak. Her muscles are weak. Her bone structure is weak. And that's because she hasn't been active. And now she's in assisted living. She was placed in assisted living last week. So those are the things that we want to prevent.
Right. Costs more money to kind of on the reaction versus the preventative side, for insurance and medications and all that. So
just the medical equipment, you're surprised, because a lot of people don't know that some things are covered by insurance and some things aren't. But things like walkers and things like rail bars and just all the different things that you would need to equip your home if you wanted to age in place. That's one of the things that people are trying to talk about now, is aging in place. But you can't age in place if you're not personally doing something to prevent being sent to a facility for care.
These are all really great tips and tricks, and the hard reality, hard truth for sure. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Cliff, for joining us. I know we had 2 other folks signed up on Eventbrite, and looks like they both didn't attend today. but this, we recorded it and we'll reshare it on our social media. And I just kind of made a couple of quick posts too, with your 5 tips, and we'll tag you on Instagram as well. Is there anything else that we want to cover, Tess or Cliff, before we go wrap things up?
I think the biggest thing
Yeah.
for me is change doesn't mean that you have to deprive yourself, right? I mean, that to me is the biggest thing. That's what I hear from my girlfriends, from the couples that we hang out with that are in our age group, is they're like, oh my gosh, you made this change and now you can't, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, it's not about depriving. Change, it's about replacing with something good and replacing with something fun and being able to continue to have fun. So I think that is just something that people think about that, in my opinion, is wrong. Just because you make change doesn't mean that you're depriving yourself.
I like that. Yeah, it's a hard, and I keep going back to like what Cliff said too about the fast, quick, I don't know how you break that, because everything, like even with AI now, and it's somewhat really, the chat GPT, you get any answer instantly, and it really devalues our patience and endurance, ability to wait for things, to build things over time. They take time. Everybody wants that fast, quick liposuction, take a pill, reason to get their health back. But
yeah, I think that even something as simple as like our cooking, right? So for me, Katie, that I like to cook. By the time you get hungry and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm starving, right? You're not really starving. You just really want to eat right now. A lot of times, by the time you have completed fixing your meal in 20 or 30 minutes, your body has already kind of put that patience in there, right? Because you're fixing your meal. You're not putting something in for like 30 seconds or 45 seconds. You're taking that 15 or 20. You're not going to eat as much because your body is learning now that, because a lot of times when you are that hungry, or you feel or you think you're that hungry, you eat more. You heat something up and you're like, oh, you know what? Or you go buy something, and maybe I won't buy maybe I won't buy that smaller burger, because I'll get that big burger with that huge fries and that huge drink. And then they're still hungry. Well, you're still hungry because a lot of that stuff that you're eating, it doesn't satiate your body, right? So sometimes even just waiting the 15 or 20 minutes it takes, or 30 minutes to cook a meal, is enough to get your body to calm down a little bit, hang on, and then by the time you eat, you're not eating as much. So those are just some practical things, when it comes to patience.
Yeah. What I try to teach people all the time is that, like you were saying, like the instant gratification. If you can't see yourself eating a specific way for 3 years, you should not even start, because you're just going to watch your body yo-yo diet. And as the older you get, when you yo-yo diet, here's what happens. You go and let's say you cut all your carbs out. Now you're going to slash your calories by probably 1,000 or more. So you're getting quick results. But here's the downside of that. If let's say you do like carbs and now you cut them all out, you're setting yourself up for failure. You're not going to continue to not eat carbs for the rest of your life. Are you not going to have a piece of cake on your anniversary? Are you not going to have ice cream with your grandkids because it's their birthday? No, absolutely not. And then once you do eat it, now you're going to go right off the rails and go back to your old bad habits, because you tried to do something that you were fundamentally against in the first place. So if you can't see yourself doing that over and over again for 3 years minimum, don't start. And when you cut all your calories and you have super quick weight loss, what happens is you're not only losing body fat, you're losing your muscle mass. So do not sacrifice your muscle mass as you get older just to watch the numbers on the scale go down. Because when you do start eating all those foods again and you gain that weight back, here's what's going to happen. It's all going to be body fat that comes onto your body. It takes eating properly, and it takes working out, and it takes a long time for your body to build muscle mass. So it's not going to happen. If you've ever lost a bunch of weight to go on a trip or fit into a suit or a dress, or had one of your kids' weddings or birthdays or graduations or a big meeting that you wanted to look your best for, a black tie event, when you did what you had to lose that weight and you gain the weight back, now you can't fit into your other clothes. Well, here's the reason why. You now have lost muscle mass, and you replace that muscle mass with body fat. So even though the numbers on the scale are the same as before you lost all that weight, your body now takes up more surface area, because a pound is a pound, body fat or muscle, but the surface area that a pound of body fat and a surface area that a pound of muscle takes up are two completely different things. So now you can't wear what's in your closet. So this is why so many people outgrow what they're doing, and they say that they've tried everything. You've tried all the quick fixes. You've cut your calories down so very low to an unsustainable amount and a point that when you give in, because willpower only lasts but so far, you didn't get the education that you needed to not only change your mindset, but also change your identity from who you are and struggling with your weight to a fit, strong, and healthy person. Now that you believe that you deserve to have the weight off, if you don't do that, you're going to do this over and over. And the cycle, the roller coaster of weight loss is going to go. And every time you gain the weight back, your body fat percentage is going to increase. And this is what people don't seem to realize. They do these quick fixes because they see their friend on social media doing it. They read a magazine at the grocery store on the way out of the checkout line, and they see whatever shows on TV. Piece of advice for you: that Biggest Loser show, I don't think they make it anymore, because all of the contestants gained all their weight back when they got out of that artificial world and into the real world. They gained all their weight back. So I believe they don't make it anymore. But that's the reason, because it's so unsustainable and it's so unrealistic in your daily life. You have to find something that works for you. And it's so crazy that if from the very first time you learned how to eat healthy, you learned how to work out, you learned the proper things to do, you would have lost that weight that you've wanted to in a year, maybe 2 years. But because you've done all these quick fixes, all these yo-yo diets, 10 years later, you've lost the same 10 pounds. You've lost 100 pounds, but it's 10 pounds, the same 10 pounds over and over and over again. And you're no closer to the goal that you wanted. You're only farther away.
Interesting. It's kind of funny, somewhat related. So you guys know I do the Ironman thing, and a lot of my friends, like right now, I've been training since February, March. So I'm fitting in my clothes great. Like I am the lowest weight, I've built up this endurance. We're working out 2 hours a day, 6 days a week. And it's great. I love September. And then, after the Ironman, we stop. We slow down, a lot of us are just like Netflixing and chilling because we've just done all this, crazy endurance work. And we all gain weight. And then, we forget how almost like different ends of the spectrum that it's okay to just work out a couple times, like to go back to those basic foundational habits. And so we end up just signing up for another race because we need to get back to where we were. And the only way we know how is to do an insane endurance event like that. Like I literally, if you can hear the amount of people, my friends who've said, I need to sign up for another Ironman, man, like my clothes don't fit. I've been in that exact same cycle for the last couple of years, and I need to break it. After this November, I've said to my husband, like, I need to get back to strength training. Like, Cliff, maybe we need to talk. Like, I need to do something other than this hardcore endurance thing. And there's going to be another way, right, to stay healthy and fit. Like the maximum effort and energy. Yeah. So anyway, it's similar, with the yo-yo thing, because a lot of endurance athletes between like November and February, March will go huge different ways in what they do. And it comes back. And those who have stopped already, like those who have done their half Ironmans or whatever smaller races usually end in September, have already gained weight, already, like, it's coming back. It's, they've lost the muscle again. And so it's, yeah, it's interesting.
That's the problem when you're all in for so long. And
Yeah.
then because you're training, I couldn't even imagine the training that you guys have to do in order to not only to finish the race, but to be competitive at it. So once it's over with and like you hit the switch and you turn it off and you're like, that's it, I've had enough. And that's what happens with a lot of people when they diet. They're like, all right, I can do this for 90 days. And then they all on for 90 days. And then as soon as 90 days hits, they turn it off. And then everything that they restricted for that 90 days, day 91, here it comes. And then they end up right back where they used to be. So there's got to be there's a healthy balance that you have to learn. And most people are either on or off. And when you're all on, you're great. You look amazing. You feel good. But when you're all off, then you're all off. And that's when you fall back out and where the yo-yo dieting starts.
On mute, sorry. So yeah, we're coming up at the end of the hour here. Really great content, really great ideas and tips and tricks. And thank you both for sharing your personal experiences. I think this can help a lot of people and be eye-opening, especially to those, in that age bracket. And I just want to thank you both for your time.
You're welcome. It was good to meet you, Cliff.
It's great to meet you. Oh, one last thing. The people that I guess they're going to be like, why is he wearing this thing? This is a weight vest. It's 50 pounds. The reason why I have this on is because all of my clients my entire life have told me I'll never understand what it's like to be overweight. And I hope I never do understand, but it's a way that I am trying to empathize with my clients. So I wear this 50-pound vest 16 hours, 18 hours a day to try to empathize and understand what it's like so I can try to walk a mile in your shoes. So I'm sure when people are watching, like, what does he have on? And I realized I didn't explain it at the beginning of the hour, so I might as well do it now.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I think it's awesome too. I mean, what a great idea to say that you've walked the shoes, that you've carried the weight, and I'm sure you've gotten a lot of press off of it too, because it's different. Okay, great. Well, Tess, do you have a minute just for us to catch up really quick? Okay.
Yes.
All right, I'll stop the recording stop recording.